Alright, we are C-fixed at Phoenix Raceway. The straightaway on what used to be the back stretch, which is now apparently the front stretch. This is coming to my fastest lap I ran in the session. We ran, now technically not the lap I'm going to show you is not the fastest lap. Did about 102 laps in practice. Just kind of started out doing a 10 lap run. I was going to do 10 laps and then forgot to come in and did a few short stints and then just started to try to run some qualifying laps. I'm going to show you the lap 89, which was just a little bit slower than this one because there was a truck in front of me and I don't know if somehow I was getting some sort of draft off of it to bump this up. I wanted it to be more just me by myself. So we're going to go with the lap 89 run. So watching one of the other trucks in the practice session, I noticed a line that they were taking, and after I did that line, that's pretty much what literally after that I cracked off this lap and was like I found something to do. So in the setup, I've got a 16:1 steering ratio, so I've got it maxed all the way out as far to the right as we can go. And the brake bias I've turned down as low as humanly possible that I can potentially go. Trying to get a good turn in, trying to make sure I'm not scrubbing too much time off when I'm turning the wheel. So I didn't do any lead up to entering 3 and 4 onto what would be the front straightaway where the start finish line is. However, I did notice that in additional practice I was able to get a negative, basically a time gain, by running up about the top up there and then downshifting to third and then just driving it down to the thing there as hard as I can, coming off the corner, shifting up, and then diving into the below the in the dog leg on that part of it. So to get this lap of a 27.375 that I'm going to show you here, this is basically what we're doing. This one here didn't go anything terribly special. We are entering middle corner, trying to carry some speed and try to kind of run a middle line coming off the corner, coming up against the wall, and then diving off that wall from the start finish line here down into the dog leg. This is the part that I saw somebody else do, that once I mirrored it with the settings that I had on there, I literally ran the fastest lap that I had ran. So we come off basically as soon as we get to, actually before we get to that, we are turning past the red sign. We are starting to dig to go down onto the apron. Down here, back up on the track, trying to get up near the wall to set ourselves back up for entry into the next turn. So it looks like we ended up starting to get on the brake and off the throttle. I guess this bar just after we passed this red sign here, going into turn 1. Let's back it up and see if that's where we started our turn in. So we're going to come up here, we're going to pass that, and we're starting to turn in, getting on the brake. We're not going to go to the bottom. We're going to try to keep it up here, just above this seam on the track, trying to run a high line, keeping throttle as much as you can keep up here. About half throttle was keeping me running up along this top lane up here and then letting it drift out and applying a little bit more throttle as we start to kind of come off that corner. We're going to come off at high and with as much speed as possible. I did notice gains in the splits that were showing up here when I ran that higher line. Not initially, because you lost a little bit of time going the corner, but you gained some of it back on the straightaway as we're going down the backstretch. Now, as we enter the turn, we are off the throttle just after the single cone on the wall. There's 3, 2, and then a single cone. So we're going to go just past that cone, and we are off the throttle, starting on the brake. I believe that is also as soon as we let off and start braking, we want to start turning in here as well. So we'll see down here, yep, the wheel's starting to turn, so we're starting to drive it down. We want to be right down here on the bottom. We want to get in here just as soon as we can with light braking to get ourselves down here. And I got that brake bias turned down so low that it will turn the car. If you get on it too hard, it'll literally spin the truck out. And then get back on it coming off. Now we reapplied throttle. I don't really see any good marker before these double hash marks. Restart zone? I don't know what those are there for. On the Geico sign, right here, a little ways before we get there, we are starting to pick the throttle back up and try to drive it out as hard as we can to get up against this wall without running into it. And just letting the car drift up here. I wasn't full throttle. I'm getting as much as I can and getting back up here. And again, as we get near this sign, we're going to start turning in to go down here and to repeat your lap again. But I stayed up against the top up there, and that there was the 27.375. Now I was there by myself. Like I said, I was following a truck for the other lap and literally trying way too hard to run a better lap than the other guy who was ran a 27.2 something, because I literally wiped out on this one. But I didn't really want to count this one because he was up there. I don't think he was actually affecting the lap time. Start turning down, just like the other lap. This time, I think I did adjust. I went up here, downshifted, drove it down, up, and then back down across this kind of dogleg here. Get up against the wall. We are after the red sign. That is, yeah, that was later than the other time, I believe. I think we were with the one cone, so we were after that one. We are after this sign, so I drove it in a little harder. How about that blue sign? We're off Porticool, and we're driving it in again, staying above the seam if I can get up there, trying to keep a high line, trying to mirror what this guy was doing. Braking until I feel like I can start getting back on it. We're picking throttle up after the white Arizona sign. Trying to run a higher line, carrying a little bit more speed off the corner so I can try to get a better run down the back straightaway. And again, just didn't know if perhaps on the straightaways I was getting a little bit of draft from this guy, affecting my lap time, so I don't know if this was a legit lap or not. And we bring the throttle back up against the wall. And we're going to want to probably as close to the one sign as we can. Past the double cones. We're coming up on the single cone, just past the single cone. A little bit farther past the single cone. So somewhere just past that single cone, we're off the throttle, onto the brake, and turning the wheel to get ourselves down here near the bottom. Throwing the brake to get it to turn down, and then back on the throttle, trying to get it to drive right up against this wall. Almost making this corner as straight as we can. And then I lost it. Let's see exactly what it was we did. I had too much speed, too much throttle application coming off that corner, got loose. Even in that correcting it, I slid across the line and cracked off that 27.3. So that might have been closer to 27.2 if I hadn't lost control. I had got a good come off there. So, word to the wise, don't bad it coming off there. Get a loss of control and potentially a 4x from doing that. Now, I'm going to keep an eye out first in the race session that I'll be in with my iRating, which is around a 1.9K, and just see whether or not that lap time of around a 27.3 stands up to what was running the qualifying before I put this out so that people can use it. Just want to make sure it's worth a darn, because if everybody's running, you know, half a second faster than this, and that was not the best that could be done, I don't know if I'm really helping anybody. Perhaps the line itself, if you work on that, that was literally the last little bit I did. Just happened to find that at the end, and because I was literally about a tenth off of the fastest person in that particular practice session, I feel like I was doing pretty decent. Again, I'm not a professional. Take this with a grain of salt. Use the line. Take the information that I have here, anything that is helpful, and use that to try to help make yourself a faster lap. I really think the race is going to be very dependent on, it's a very flat track. Your right front tire is going to be something you're going to want to try to keep from burning up. So backing up your corner entries, not getting back on the throttle quite as early, not snapping the throttle back on or light switching, flipping it from an off back to a full throttle to try to keep that rear tire from getting a lot of abuse. If you can save those right side tires, you'll be doing yourself a favor. Now, of course, the trucks are going to potentially, I mean, there's going to be a change of tires. And depending on how cautions fly, the wear may not come into the situation where it's going to be. Maybe you'll get in a session where it goes along green and it will matter. I don't know that there's any place other than on cold tires going into 3 and 4. Oh no, 1 and 2. No, whatever the sweeping turn that goes on to what is now the backstretch. That on cold tires coming out to was probably just overdriving that, the rear end losing grip, and looping the car around was probably the biggest thing. Just try not to overdrive the corner. Again, you're just going to wear out your right front. You're going to wear out your right side tires with right front tire. You're going to build up such a temperature on that tire that it's going to wear so quickly that people will just start passing you. So, you know, hopefully this will help. And again, I'll post this up when I finish the race that I will do. And then see you fixed.